I'm Evan, and this is Magnolias in Sunlight, and today we are on day 11 of DIY or Die, my series where we make a Halloween DIY project every day in the month of October. And I honestly cannot believe we are up in the double digits today. I mean, yesterday technically, but something about 11 just seems like we've really accomplished quite a bit. And if you need to catch up on the first 10 projects, there is a playlist linked above and down in the description box. I highly recommend it. There's also a bunch of short content on my social medias, which are also all linked down below. So if you want to catch up and see what else we've made, I highly recommend it. We've been having a lot of fun, or at least I've been having a lot of fun. If you have really enjoyed any of these projects, I would love to hear about them in the comments. So let me know which ones are your favorite. Today, we're going to keep the fun rolling with a double project, except we're making the same thing, just two different ways, because I want to include all of my ghoulies. Girlies, get it? Today, we're going to make some little ghosts. So we have our macrame ghost for all of the boho chic people out there. And then for my glitzy glam people, we've got a really cute little disco ghost. So this project came to me because I saw this pillow, and I actually saw it on the Shop Goodwill website, and after shipping it seemed to be quite expensive. So I did a little deep dive and found that you can actually get it on Marshalls right now for like $14. I will link it down below if you just want to grab that one. Technically, if you bought all of the supplies for this project, it's probably cheaper to buy the pillow than to make it. It is on sale now. Originally, that might not have been the case, but if you can grab it for 14 bucks and you love it, it's probably cheaper. I, however, already had everything I needed in my craft room to make these two things. So we spent zero money out of, obviously I bought this stuff a while ago, but specifically for this project, we spent $0. So I'm going to show you how to make these. You guys know that I love a convertible project. On day 2, we made a wreath where we could take the bats out, and then our Halloween wreath converts into a fall Thanksgiving wreath that we can leave up for multiple months. And on day 5, I think, we made some tarot card pillows. Both of those I will link above so you can go check them out if you haven't seen them. But the whole point of the pillows is that I think storing holiday throw pillows can kind of be a pain. They take up a lot of space. And if you're just making a pillow cover for that pillow, you can just take it off and store that instead. And it stores flat, it doesn't take up as much space. And so these are the same idea. These are just going to be something that we can attach to our current throw pillows, make them spooky for the Halloween season, and then take these off. And then store this and keep the pillow going through the rest of, our normal decor. But what's even better is that I also saw some Judith March sweatshirts, and I love her sweatshirts. I think they're really fun. And what is the other? There's another brand that I love, Queen of Sparkles, that have wonderful sequiny sweatshirts. And you know what? I think sometimes people are afraid to wear the sequins, but I say wear the damn sequins if they make you happy, because look how cute this little ghost is. So we can take this and put it on a pillow. We can put this one on a pillow, or we can put them on some sweatshirts. And I will give you guys examples of both. I have a thrifted sweatshirt, and then I have some pillows that I'm just going to pop these on. So at the end of this video, you guys can see multiple ways that you can use these cute ghosts, and then we'll pop them into a little envelope to store them for next year. So let's dive into our supplies so you guys can see what we're going to make these out of. We need some scrap cardboard because we're going to make some little stencils out of it. Maybe you have some left over from our marquee sign project. And then you're going to need some macrame and some white sequins. You can do white sequins that are loose and just individually glue them all on. I find having this sequin ribbon makes it a lot easier. And I will link both of these down below. This is just a fun thing to have around. You can put this on the edges of sweatshirts and make racer stripes. There's a lot of things that you can do with this, not just this little project. And then the trick with this, you need some felt because that's what we're gonna make our eyes and our backing out of, but you need the thick felt. So this isn't your floppy felt. This has some stiffener in it, and you can get this at your craft store, or you can buy this in bulk online. And it really is, it's like working with felted cardboard almost, and it's gonna give us that nice stiff hold without using cardboard on the back because we want these to look pretty, and I didn't wanna have to try and disguise cardboard. Technically, if you don't want to get felt, you 100% can use cardboard and just cover it up, paint it if you can see it through, but you could 100% do this without the felt if you wanted to. And then this is a no-sew project. I'll show you where I recommend sewing things on just in case, but for the sake of this project and this video, we are just gonna hot glue everything. That means they are not washable, keep that in mind. Then you need a bunch of things to make eyeballs out of. So this one is made out of felt. This one is made out of some beads that I got out of this kit, which you guys have seen before. I just dug out 2 matching beads to make some glitzy fun eyes. We also have some sequins, and you can be really creative with whatever makes you happy. So for the mouths, we have pink felt. For the eyes, we have black felt, obviously. You'll need some scissors that can cut all of this out, and that is it. This is a very simple, quick project. I almost forgot, you do need these brooch backs. I got these at an estate sale and a massive box of buttons and beads that I bought. I didn't realize they were in there, but I didn't know what to use them for because I wasn't making brooches until today. Because technically, while I'm gonna put 3 of these across a sweatshirt, you could also throw this on a lapel, wear it to a Halloween party, and it could be really just a fun little accent. You could put this on a headband. Now that these are on here, you can basically use them any way you want, which is really fun. I love a project that we can use in literally probably hundreds of ways. So let's clean this up, move it out of the way, and start making a ghost. And we're going to take our scrap piece of cardboard, and I like to use a round object. This one just seemed to be the right diameter for what we're making, and that's how I'm making my ghost head, and then I just go straight down. Obviously we already have 2, so we're just going to use these, and I can save this for another project later. But this is what we've got. We have our little ghost and our big ghost. I didn't know which size I wanted, so I ended up making the sequin ghost out of the little ghost because 3 of those, 4 of those, that's a lot of glitz. And then for the macrame ghost, this one was the one I was thinking about for the pillow. So I wanted a little bit of a bigger impact, but obviously these can be whatever size you want. Then we're gonna take our stencils and our felt. We're gonna move our glue gun out of the way because it's in the way. And we're just gonna trace onto the felt. And you can use any pen this time around. I know in the first video I told you guys about that air erasable marker, but you're not gonna be able to see any of this, so it doesn't really matter if there's ink on the felt. And then we're just gonna cut them out. Of course, I'm only gonna make 1 of each of these with you, and then I will sit here and make probably 4 or 5 more, and then I will show you guys in the grand reveal what they all look like together on a pillow and on a sweatshirt. Maybe a blazer. We'll see how into filming I am after I make all of these. Or how much time I have, because I bulk film these projects for you guys on the weekends. So, got a lot to get done. We have so much preparation before the holidays. I'm just using regular scissors today. I know in the past I've talked a lot about my fabric scissors, and I do love those, but this works just fine. So we need to heat the glue gun up, and then this is just a macrame cord. I have a couple of like different widths of this, so make sure if you're buying one, you're getting one that's not too chunky. I will put on the screen what width of cord this is, because it's not on the roll. Obviously, back many years ago, I got very into macrame plant hangers, as I think everyone did, like circa 2017. And so my parents got me 2 giant rolls of this stuff for my birthday one year, and I am still working my way through it because you only need so many macrame hangers. All right, so while the glue gun heats up, a quick explanation of why we're gonna do our first step the way we are. We're pinning these onto our pillows, right? So there's already gonna be some depth that wouldn't normally be if you sew them on. Can you sew these on? 100%. You can make them exactly how we're making them and then just stitch them onto a pillow. using like one of the seams or one of the gaps in between your macrame, and they will 100% just hold on. And then if you wanted to cut them off, you can, or you could leave them there and just have a Halloween pillow cover. The reason I like this is because it's convertible, but I don't want to increase that gapping any more than will already be there. So we're going to glue our first piece of macrame on the outside. And that way this is like encased in macrame cord and it's not all sitting on top, because then we would have the pen back, we would have the felt, and then we would have the macrame sitting on top like that, and you would see this piece. So we're going to go on top of it, not next to it, if that makes sense. So I find this step is much easier if the glue gun heated up and I have to go change this battery. So we will be right back. Glue gun is hot and the dogs are back inside. So if you hear them wandering about, oh, hi buddy. Hi, I'm working. So we're going to glue down the edge. And then this has started to fray from where I last cut it. So we're gonna give ourselves some wiggle room with that. We'll trim up the edges at the end, but we're just gonna go straight on as such. And you can see here, it does kind of start to fray, but once we glue it down, that should stop it from fraying at this edge, but we will trim it all up at the end either way. I'm doing short circuits here. We had a bit of a cold front come in, so the glue is drying a little faster than it normally has been. So I'm just doing it in segments, and that way the glue doesn't dry before we make contact with the macrame cord. And then again, cut where you think you want it to be. We don't want to waste a bunch of macrame when we give it a haircut at the end, but give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. That last piece doesn't want to cut. There we go. Okay, so there is our first step. So now we just arch and arch and arch and arch. So because it's the same step over and over and over, I will speed you guys up and you can just watch it at, I don't know, hyper speed. All right, so we've made it to our last loop. And you don't want to just, I mean, I guess you could fill it with one, but I like the consistency, and this stuff is pretty pliable. So you really can squish one more into that gap, even though it doesn't look like you can. So I find that it's easiest to put a decent, like all of your glue. You're just gonna fill that whole middle bit with glue. Line up the bottom, create the fold on the outside, and then push it in as you go down. Instead of looping like we had been, you create the loop and then push it into the little gap. And then just smush it all together to make sure that it's nice and stable. As you're going, it's really important to try and get the cording as close as possible so that you get this nice finished like rug woven texture. And we're gonna give it one more trim. And then I flip it. And I put a line of glue all the way across the bottom. In my mind, this really helps with it from continuing to fray. Whether or not it does, I don't know, but it makes me feel like those fibers are a little bit more secure. And this one on the outside, because we've been moving it, is fraying quite a bit. So I'm gonna actually give it a twist to kind of try and get that fraying to stop right there. we let that dry. And while we have it flipped over, we might as well put our pins on. So these came with like a foam sticker that I don't intend to use, but because they are secondhand, I don't really have a choice that it's there. So I'm just peeling it off because again, I don't want to add to any more depth off of the pillow or the sweatshirt or whatever you're gluing these to. So we're going to try and get it as close as possible. And then just line it up. Do your best to make sure that it's level. You could get a little mini level or a ruler and make sure. And then so that they're not floppy up and down, like on the pillow or whatever surface you're attaching them to, I'm putting 2. And that will make sure that they stay in place, top and bottom. They're secured at 2 points, not just 1. And I think that will make it look a little bit more professional on your surface. So at the end, we already have this one, so I want them to be about even. So we'll line them up on their heads, and then we'll trim off the excess on the back one. And I'm okay with it looking a little straggly. Like, I don't think every single one needs to be exactly, you know what, those aren't working. There we go, that's better. And there's our little ghost body. So I'm gonna clean up this fuzz and then we'll make the sequin one and then we'll put the faces on. Okay, so now we have our little form, or our little ghosty guy. So because I'm using sequins on a string, I'm going to attach this first sequin on its own with a little bit of overhang. You can see on here that we have like one row that hangs a little low. But I want that first sequin to be really attached because otherwise it will slip right off of that string. And then we're gonna fold the string up behind it instead of cutting it off. That way, if it does come at all loose, it's not gonna fall off because our string is looped behind. The strands start on the outside like we did with the macrame. We're just gonna have this first strand all the way up the ghost overhang quite a bit. So you can see that we're just gluing that inside layer of the sequins on. And that way we can kind of disguise our felt edge. I feel like because these sit flatter than the macrame did, disguising that edge isn't as difficult because they kind of just like mesh or meld together. So same thing, we're just gonna go all the way around in segments, making sure on these ones, the sequins are one-sided. The back side is just a flat white and the front is this pretty like fun holographic-y. Technically they're white sequins, but they look pink and purple and blue on the screen. So making sure that those are all lined up, that we don't have any sequins flipping in opposite direction because on these strands they do tend to flip. And making sure that you can see here like they wiggle. So pull it taut when you glue it down so that you're getting a straight line or as close to a straight line as possible. I don't want to cut and deal with a lot of loose sequins falling off. So I'm going to very tightly, get a little slack here, very tightly wrap and push these sequins right up next to the other ones and create basically a corner. And then we have a cute little scalloped ghost bottom. And we just do that over and over and over. So the way these sequins are attached, we want to cut as close to the next sequin as possible so that this one that we're working with doesn't fall off. So we're just going to trim those threads. If you lose one sequin, then obviously we want to keep that sequin attached, so we're just going to hit it with some glue. Again, I'm using the nozzle of my glue gun to catch those threads because there's not a lot to work with. I don't want to use my fingers, and push it back up into place, and then we can adjust these bottom ones so that you have a complete line across the bottom. And now, again, we just attach our little clippies, peel off the foam. Some of these peeled off really nicely and some of them are not. The last ones were so nice. This happened on the examples too. The clips that I picked for the macrame. See, that one peels off clean. Lovely. But we are not going to not use it because it's a little messy on the back. Free craft supplies are free craft supplies. Again, try and get center and level. And now, my sequin ghosties have a friend. So on the macrame one, I wanted to keep it simple, and you best believe I tried literally like 15 different face combinations, and I landed on this one, which is just felt. And then on this one, I decided it needed to have a little glitz. I wanted to have a happy face. So I will show you how I did that. But some other options, like you could go with more sequins and then put a bead in the middle. That was another option that I thought about. So you could have like kind of the just plain sequin or the sequin with the bead. I liked these rondelle beads because they add a little extra sparkle. You could do lips instead of a smiley face. You could do like the classic ghost face. The options are endless. You could do a series of them where they're like each making a different face. That could be really cute. But essentially all we're going to do is use some scrap felt that I have had and cut out for the macrame one 2 ovals. All right, so now we just glue these on. And then for these ones, I went in and got some beads. Obviously, we'll make the little mouth first, and it's basically the same shape we cut out for the background. We're just doing a little arch. Okay. So we'll keep those out for later because I'm gonna make some more, but obviously we just glue these down. So this is where I was saying this is technically a no-sew project, but I highly recommend that if you want to wear this long term that you throw a stitch through these beads. They're gonna work great for like the grand reveal that I do with you guys, but if you're gonna be wearing them out and about, I would be concerned that these beads aren't actually going to stay. So off camera, I most likely will throw a quick stitch through each one of these to make sure that they're really secure on there. And from year to year, I'm not going to be having to hunt for replacement eyeball beads for these ghosts. And because I'm going to sew them on, I'm making sure when I glue them down that the holes are going this way so that we can just really seamlessly tack them down. You don't want to accidentally glue one going that way, glue one going that way, and then when you're sewing, it's going to be kind of messy. So there we go. I'm gonna make a few more off camera and then the grand reveal. I hope you guys have enjoyed this project so far. It's so fun. They're so cute. So I think honestly, now that I have them, I would put them maybe across the back, but I wanted to be able to show you I do 3 across the back of this jacket, or make a bunch more and cover it. But aren't they cute? Little ghosty friends. And then we can easily take them off and throw them onto like this houndstooth jacket. All right guys, that's all I've got for you today, but I want you to come back tomorrow. We have another ghost project, this one for the outside. So before you leave, I want to know down in the comments, are you a macrame boho ghosty or a disco glam ghosty? I think these both turned out really cute. I do think I want to make quite a few more of these and just cover a denim jacket. I'm not really a holiday sweater person, but I think I could get behind a ghost denim jacket, especially if it's convertible and I can take them all off later and have my jacket back. But I think that would be a really fun Halloween party outfit. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Follow, like, subscribe, do all of the things, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another project. Bye.